Come on in, welcome to my home. Let me explain why this series is going to start. So, we are going to start a series about self care. Self care, the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. And I need to preface this with telling you that last week's video was the most stressful video that I've ever done. You're probably thinking, well, why was it so stressful? And I have to say that making the video was not that stressful. Filming the stuff, that was easy. That was actually, it was just me filming things that I normally do. While it did take some extra steps, it wasn't that stressful. Editing the video. And I mentioned that, I'm sure, repeatedly in that video, where I started editing on Wednesday, and the files got corrupted. I think it was too big to save. So normally I edit my videos on Thursday, then attach Friday's video to that. This time that didn't happen. So I thought I would get ahead. Yay, I'm working ahead, I'm taking care of things. So I started editing the video, and it, of course, it had all sorts of problems. Like all sorts of problems to the point where I had to divide it into two pieces before I could put it together into one piece. But we've already gone over that in that video. But it got me thinking. I was so stressed out over that. It was not even funny. I didn't feel like doing anything. I just wanted to lay in bed and not deal with it because, I was working all day long trying to get this edit to work, and it wouldn't work. And I was thinking, there's gotta be, this is bad. This is really bad. And this video, the whole thing about taking care of yourself, self-care, it was going to come up. This was going to come up, but it wasn't going to be a series. But then I realized that the things that I started doing from Wednesday on weren't necessarily the most healthy, and that's bad. That's really bad, because it's really easy to fall into those habits where when something goes wrong, it just snowballs and things cascade to the point where, you're spiraling out of control. And I know you're saying, well, it was only 2 days. How bad could it be in 2 days? It was bad. It was really bad, because the other thing to think about is if I hadn't figured out how to edit that video, how to make that video all come together, we would have had to try to make a video in 2 days. It was just, and that was the other part about this is, looking back on this, I'm thinking, well, there are 18 different ways I could have handled this. But at the moment, I was like, no, this is horrible. This is the end. What am I going to do? Yikes. And so also, I didn't get to prepare as much as I would for this video simply because I was spending all that time. So then I was like, maybe people need to understand what self-care is, because I lost self-care at that point. Didn't do it, didn't take care of it, nothing happened. And so even I thought, well, what is self-care? It becomes fairly obvious when you look at self-care what self-care is. You are taking, the name sort of implies it. You are taking care of yourself. I have notes, by the way, they're on my phone. But also, it involves the article that I probably link, I'm sure I linked it down below. It has 8 pillars of self-care, which are mental, emotional, physical, environmental, spiritual, recreational, and social. Yeah, I sort of destroyed all of those in those 2 days because I was in survival mode, not self-care mode. And that's what I want to get people out of, is the whole being in survival mode. And also get out of the idea that self-care is bubble baths and scented candles. It's more than that. It's more than just saying no to people for random reasons. It's more than just making sure that your house smells fresh. And the thing which I found really interesting, because this was my solace on Saturday, was reading about articles about what little things can be self-care, which is what we're going to talk about. Is you can start taking care of yourself, you can start taking care of your whole situation by doing little steps. I know if I was really hesitant with self-care because I thought it would be a lot of meditating and, listening to, environmental sounds and then journaling with my feelings. Yeah. I wasn't really down for that. So started looking at self-care more of a practical thing and more along the lines of, what does this mean for me and what can I give to you to help you with the idea of doing self-care? Because believe it or not, for me, straightening up my house, I have no problem with that. No problem with that at all. When I started thinking about self-care, I stopped. I was just like, what do I do? I'm not listening to wind chimes. I hate wind chimes. I despise wind chimes. But that's what I thought self-care was. And then I asked the silly question of, can home automation be self-care? And the answer that my computer gave me was yes. Yes, it can. Because part of self-care is making your life a little bit easier. So my home automation, where my robot vacuum runs, yeah, that can be actually considered part of self-care. The little things in my house that I no longer have to do can be part of self-care, but it is way more than that. And it also is one of those things where it's not a la carte. Is that what I'm talking about? A la carte. Where you pick and choose. You really need to focus on all 8 pillars of self-care. You really do. You really need to focus on this. And what's really funny about this, and I'll tell this as we get into the whole series about this, in the 2 days, Saturday, no, it would start, yeah, it starts on Saturday. Saturday and Sunday, I hit them all. I hit all pillars of self-care simply because, yeah, I was no longer in survival mode. And I did it without even thinking about that. Now, I mean, anybody who knows me will tell you that, yeah, when it comes to like physical things, I'm not big, you can look at me, I'm not big on sports, but I do my half hour of walking every day. I try to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day, and I sleep really well, so that's not a problem. My problems come into things like social. Yeah. As you can imagine, I spend a lot of time by myself talking to a camera, and then what compounded that was when the video didn't work, it then made it even worse because then I spent even more time by myself, isolating myself more as people were like, hey, what are you up to? And I'm like, editing this video, can't talk. And it's just like, well, you're sort of defeating self-care. And then, of course, it became a whole bunch of the whole, why is the world against me? What do I do? No, I needed to take a moment, sit back and say, okay, we need to look at this rationally, and I need tools to help me with this whole self-care idea so that next time that something like that happens, it isn't as devastating of an experience. Because I want to stress this. I love making videos. I thought it was so much fun to make the video. The video that I made before, the smoke and mirrors video, I loved making that. In fact, I would love to do more visual storytelling as I talk about how you can do things to make your house look however you want and those sort of fun things. But to do that, I need to take care of me so I can get back into that mind space where I can think of an idea, move forward with that idea, enjoy that idea, and share it with you. I mean, like, I have my spring planting coming up. However, right now it is like May 7th. Haven't bought plants, haven't done anything with that, simply because I would have done that last week. That was going to be part of last week, but that all just fell apart. So yeah, in the next week, we will, in fact, next week's video will literally be about the mental part of self-care involves. What you can do, what I've done, what I do, what people suggest. But we really need to look at self-care as not just a luxury, but as something you need to do. I know I need to do this, so come with me on this journey of how I learn how to do better with my self-care, especially in emergency situations, which I found myself in. So, if you have questions, comments, ideas, let me know down in the comment part, because this, like I said, this is coming, it was only going to be a short little video originally, and now it's going to be a whole probably 8-part series about self-care and how there are lots of things that you can do doing that. I'd like to take this time to really, really thank these people who help me stay together when everything is falling apart. These are the Patreon people who help me get this channel moving forward, keep up with ideas, keep up with doing things, suggest that I grow. Because that was the other thing which got lost in this. My seedlings, my sprouts, I had broccoli sprouts and bean sprouts, got lost in this because I would have taken care of them during that time, and instead it all fell apart. So yeah, they suggested the bean sprouts, which were really fun to do. We'll do that again. But if you want to become part of the Patreon family or part of the channel members family, where you get these videos early, and as you saw how early that video that my weekly vlog was when that was made versus when you guys see it, you get those videos early. You get a behind the scenes video where I do more than just what you saw in that video, because then I get to talk about what's really going on in my life versus that video, which was just sort of me trying to not stress out about what was going on in my life. And yeah, so if you want to help, the other thing which you can do, which really helps this channel, this video, and every channel that you watch, is watch the video all the way through. Liking and sharing the videos really helps the videos. It tells the YouTube algorithm know that people should actually see this. Now, if, like I said, if you had questions about self-care, if there's things that you'd like to share with me about what I could possibly do for self-care, let me know down in the comments. And I hope you enjoy this new series, and I hope I get to see you again next week for our first part of the self-care series, which is going to be on mental self-care.